One of the biggest problem with building AI application today is the cost. And I think most developer would agree with me for coding tasks, Claude is often considered one of the best model available right now. The problem is not every request actually need Claude code, right? Sometimes you are asking AI to generate dummy data, sometimes you're asking it to just format JSON. Those are very simple tasks, but every request is sent to an expensive model, so your cost can add up quickly. Let me show you an example here. This table shows the pricing of different AI models. For example, the Claude Opus 4.7, the cost is around $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output token. If I send, for example, the prompt is 1,000 input token, then the output, for example, 500 tokens. That single request, the cost is roughly $0.018. Now imagine 1,000 or even million of requests, the costs start adding up very quickly, right? So ideally for simple tasks, we want to use cheaper models. For example, we use this DeepSeek version 4, right? To just format JSON, to just generate dummy data. We need to using this DeepSeek, not using Claude code. For more difficult coding tasks, we might want to use Claude or another frontier model. The challenge is figuring out which model should handle which request. Most developers solve this by writing custom routing logic. This is just very simple condition, like for example, for the simple task, it's return queen, right? And for the coding, it's just return Claude code. For the task reasoning, is using the ChatGPT. And honestly, this works, but it's also create a new problem. So every time the new model is released, you need to update your routing logic. Every time pricing changes, you need to update your routing logic. So every time the provider goes down, you need to update your routing logic. So I started looking at better solutions. That's where OrcaRouter comes in. Instead of manually choosing a model, OrcaRouter sits between your applications and multiple AI models. So you don't have to use this condition anymore, and you can use OrcaRouter in here. So how this works, you send your request once and OrcaRouter evaluate the request. In theory, that means cheaper requests go to cheaper models, while more complex requests get routed to stronger model automatically. So let's see how we can using that. I like to using that on my open code. Let's try to open my iTerm. Then I'm gonna open my open code. Let's typing slash and then connect. Then in here you have to find the OrcaRouter basically. So let's try to see OrcaRouter. This one in here. I'm gonna click enter, and then as you can see, we have to put the API key. So let's go to the dashboard. Then in here, it should be show you the API key. Go to API keys. Then as you can see, this is the initial token. You can just click this one and then copy the key. Then you can just paste that right here on the input field. Then just try to hit submit. So basically there's a lot of AI model, as you can see, DeepSeek, GPT, Kimi, Claude Code, and Queen, Minimax, a lot of things. But for this tutorial, I like to show you the OrcaRouter Auto. We are gonna try to use this auto router. It's basically let OrcaRouter to pick the cheapest live model per request. Right, so let's try to open the iTerm. Then I'm gonna say auto in here, OrcaRouter auto. Just try to hit enter. Let's try to running this first prompt. I'm gonna say create a new next.js app called tax flow. I'm gonna hit enter. Let's take a look. All right, this is done. So now I'm gonna say open that project on Visual Studio Code. All right, so let's take a look on the dashboard of this OrcaRouter. As you can see, I made 6 requests. Then the OrcaRouter is basically used 2 models. Most requests is using the Queen, basically, Queen 3.5. Then one request was routed to the Claude Haiku 4.5. So the router is not locked to a single model, it switch model based on the task that I give. The interesting part is the cost. As you can see, OrcaRouter estimate that these requests were about 65% cheaper than using the list model pricing directly. So the goal is not just to pick the smart model, the goal is to find the best balance between quality, speed, and cost. One thing that I really like is the zero markup guarantee. You pay providers directly at their published rate. We add nothing on top of token costs. Routing is free. Definitely check that out. Link should be on the description. Thank you so much for watching. See you on another video.